Hello everyone, welcome to the online lecture series on Verilog HDL. So in the previous session we had actually looked in terms of different types of design methodologies by taking an example of ripple carry counter. So how actually top down design methodology works and how actually the bottom up design methodology work, that we had looked into. Now let us look in terms of some of the basic concepts or basic constructs which are required for Verilog HDL. Before jumping on to the actual programming part, so what we can call these three things, that is modules and instances and components of simulation. So these three parts what we are having, these are somewhat what we can call it as the building blocks of Verilog HDL. Okay, so let us try on to jump on to this. So as we know that we are having basically three different types. So one thing what we need to understand is, so what is going to be module. Okay, and the second thing what we need to understand is instances. The next part what we are having, that is going to be the components of simulation. Let us try to discuss in further in the later part, but let us try to understand what is module. Okay, a module, what we can call it as, a module is nothing but this is going to be the basic building block or fundamental block, basic block what I can say. Okay, so this is going to be basic block of Verilog. Any Verilog program if you want to write, so it should always start with what? It should always start with module. Now if you look at the syntax, what I can do is that, let me take, so module always starts with module. So any program it will be starting with module, and it is going to, we need to give some name for this particular module. So once you have written module, next what we need to write is that we need to write module name. I need to give some name for this particular module. Okay, and next what we will be having, terminal list. So this terminal list, what it can be, so this module it will be starting off with what? It is going to start off with module, and I should give module name, and then I need to specify the terminal list, and then it should end with what? It should end with a semicolon. Okay, so once I have started, okay, so this will be ended up with what? At the end I need to end this particular module. So what I will be writing? I will be writing end module. Okay, so in between the module and the module part, what we will be having is that we will be having different types of logic, how actually we are going to execute. So that particular logic will be present in between my module and then end module. So the actual logic part will be present in between your module and then end module. So here you can observe this terminal list, right? So this terminal list is basically what? It is going to be basically your IO ports. Okay, so here we need to define what are my input ports and then what are my output ports. Okay, so in the logic part, it depends on how actually we are going to implement. Here this logic part, if you want to see, the logic part is basically divided in terms of different levels of abstraction. Okay, the whole logic part what we are having, it is going to be what? It is going to be different levels of abstraction. What I can call it as, for this particular logic I can use what? I can use just wait a minute. I can use gate level. I can write in terms of gates. Okay, the same logical part I can use in terms of data flow, and one more level of abstraction what we can have is that it is going to be behavioral. Okay, and one more part what I can have is mixed level what I can say. So let us try to understand in a simple way, let us try to understand what are these different levels of abstraction, but in depth we will be studying what is actually gate level, what is actually a data flow, and what is actually behavioral. In depth we will be studying in module 3 and then module 4. So now let us try to understand gate level. As the name suggests, here you can observe this is being what it is being mentioned as gate. Here we will be writing our whole programs in terms of what we will be specifying gates. So what gates actually we are using. Now here in data flow we will be writing in terms of how actually data flows, from input to output, Okay. So here in data flow what actually we are looking, we are looking in terms of how actually data flows from input to output. In behavioral we will try to write in terms of its behavior, and we will be writing in terms of basic C language. Mixed level is nothing but what? It is a combination of data flow. I can merge the data flow modeling, and then I can merge the behavioral modeling, and then I can merge my gate level modeling. Mixture of all these three different types is what? It is mixed level. Now let us try to understand how actually what actually these things. Okay, as we had said that basically we are having one is gate level and one more is what? It is going to be data flow, and one more is behavioral. Okay, so let us see with a simple example. Let me take an example of a half adder. Okay, so let us take an example of half adder. Okay, so now if you look at half adder, if you are writing in terms of what? If you are writing in terms of gates, then I'll be having what? I'll be having two inputs, that is going to be A, and I'll be having one more input, that is going to be B, and I'll be having two different outputs, that is going to be sum, and then one more is going to be carry. I don't know what is inside in this particular block, but let me consider this as a black box, and once if you go through in terms of truth table and then reducing it in terms of corner map by reducing the equations, then we will be ending up with what? We will be ending with sum of products and then product of sum equations. So based on the sum of product equation, what we can land is that the sum is being made up of what? It is being made up of an XOR gate, okay, and with the inputs being connected, and one more gate is what? It is going to be AND gate. Okay, so I'll be calling this gate as, let me name this gate as M1, and then let me name this gate as M2. Okay, now you can see that the whole half adder description is being made in terms of what? It is being made in terms of gates. If I write my program in terms of gate level, I'll be calling that particular programming as what? Gate level programming. Okay, or I can call it as gate level modeling. Okay, now this is one way, and one more way is what? One more way is, based on the corner map this thing, we will be ending up with what? SOPs or POS. So we will be getting some equation. So I will be getting what? If you write in terms of some equation, what I will be writing? I will be writing A XOR B. So this is the equation what I have got, and carry equation what I have got? I have got in terms of AB, right? So Based upon this is the equation what I am having. I can simply write in terms of what I will be writing in terms of sum is equal to A XOR B, and then carry is equal to A dot B, or A and B I can write, right. So, if you are writing in terms of equation, here what I will be knowing, I will be knowing how data flows from input to output through equations I will be knowing, right. So, this part what we can call, this way of modeling your this thing, what we can call it as data flow modeling. Okay. And the next part is what? Next part is my behavioral. So, I should know how actually it should behave. So, here in behavioral modeling, basically we will be, this is this behavioral modeling is almost similar to your C language. I think most of you have studied the C language in your first year. So, and you might be knowing what are its constructs and all those things. So, this is almost similar to C language. Here we will be writing in terms of different types of if statements and then for loop statements and all these statements. So, if you are writing those in terms of that, then what we can call it as? We can call it as behavioral model. Okay. Now, if I have taken data flow, behavioral and then gate level, if I combine all these things for some particular designs I need some of the things which need to be written in gate level, and I need some of the code to be written in terms of data flow, and then I need some code to be written in terms of behavioral. If I combine all these things and then if I come up with a program, then what I can call it as? What I can call it as mixed level. Okay. So, this is how it is going to be done. Now, let us look back. Okay, we were left out over here. So, a module is what? It is going to be a basic building block of any Verilog program. It should always start with what? It should always start with module, and then a module name should be given, and then your IO ports should be given. And the logic part what we are having, we will be writing the logic part in terms of different levels of abstraction, and then we will be ending up our module. The module should always end with what? It should always end with end module. Now, there are some restrictions, right, how to give module name. Okay. So, here we have specified it as just module name, but how to give this as a module name, that we need to see. Okay. So, for this particular module name, what are the things need to be given? How actually a module name should start? It should always start with what? It should always start with a character. Okay. This character what we are having, this character can be in terms of uppercase, or it can be in terms of lowercase as well. But the starting name should be what? It should be started with what? It should be always started with an alphabet. Now, the restrictions are what? The restrictions are, the first letter should be what? The first letter should not be numerical, and then the first letter should not be started with special character. These are the things. Okay. So, a module name should always start with how? If you want to see a module name can be given as, let me take AND gate. Okay, I can give this as AND underscore gate. Here you can observe it should always start with what? It should always start with a character, but in between we can use numericals and then special characters such as underscore and all that. But these special characters and numericals should not be done with, I cannot write to IN and gate, this is not a valid, and I cannot write underscore and gate. So, these two are what? These two are not at all valid. only valid this thing is it should always start with a character. So, I think this is all which is required for your how actually we need to write modules. Now, let us look into let us try to understand what are instances. Okay. So, what is an instance? Anyhow, we have written a program for we have written a module for AND gate, and then we have written for we have looked in terms of half adder. Now, let us take back to the previous session example where we have written in terms of where we have written in terms of ripple carry counter. Okay, let me take back that example. So, basically what we had for the ripple carry counter, we were having 4 different T flops. So, let me name these T flops as TFF0 and TFF1, TFF2 and then TFF3. And we know that each T flip flop is made up of what? It was made up of a D flop and an inverter. Okay. So, how actually we can write this program? So, first what I will be doing, if you are going in terms of bottom up approach, first I will be writing with what? So, I will be writing with, first I need to write down a program for a module for D flop and inverter. Anyhow we have inbuilt, inverter is inbuilt. Okay. Taking these two modules into what I should bring up with what? T flop. I should create a module for a T flop, and taking this T flop as an module, once I have created a module for T flop, I will be coming up with what? I will be coming up with ripple carry counter. Okay. Now, let us try to understand. Anyhow, we have come across here only modules, but what are the instances? Okay. See, usually a Verilog, what it gives us, that Verilog will give us a privilege where once a module is written, okay, once a module is written, I can take a copy. Okay. So, I can take a copy of this particular module. Let me call this module name as let me give this name as DFF, D underscore FF, without altering, without changing here, without changing my main program, without changing my main program, I can take a copy of this particular D flip flop into some other module. So, if I want to call, okay, so if I want to have a copy of this thing, so I can call this particular module, what module program I have written, I can have a copy of that particular module in some other module. Let me take this module as what? Let me take this as T flip flop. So, for T flip flop, if I want to create a T flip flop, what actually is required? In order to create a T flip flop, I need one D flip flop and then I need one inverter. Okay. Anyhow, I have created a module for my D flip flop. So, I have written a module program for a D flip flop, and we have one inverter which is predefined and then pre-inbuilt, which is available in our EDA tool. Okay. So, in order to create a T flip flop, I need a module for D flop and an inverter, right. So, what Verilog gives us, that it gives us a privilege where I cannot alter my main program, the original program what I have written, without altering that particular program, I can take use of that particular program in some other module. Okay. So, how it does? What Verilog does is that it will take your original program and then what it does, it takes a copy of that, or it creates an object from that particular module, and that object will be placed where? It will be placed inside your T flip flop, right. So, even though if I make changes for connection, if I make changes in that particular module, but the main module what I have written, that won't be altered. Since why? Since it is a copy. That generated copy, what I can call it as what? I can call it as instance. This generated copied format, which was earlier what? Which was earlier module, if I take a copy of that, and then what I can call it as what? I can call it as instance. And the process of doing this, the process of creating instance in some other module, that process we call it as what? Instantiation. Okay. The process of creating a copy in some other module, we call it as what? Instantiation. Now, if you look at this particular model, so let me take, so let us take some two different examples. Let us try to understand this. Okay. So, we had what? Let me go back to the same concept, that was our ripple carry adder. So, this ripple carry counter. Okay. So, in approach we had seen that this ripple carry counter, what we were having, this was divided into 4 different flip flops. I will call this as T underscore FF1, and then T underscore FF2, and one more thing, it is going to be T underscore FF3. This thing was made up of what? It was made up of a D flip flop and an inverter, and again this was same D flop and inverter, D flop and inverter, D flop and inverter. Okay. So, how many times, see, if you look at this, if you look at this particular example, I need to write how many times? I need to have D flip flops 4 number of times, right. So, D flip flops are required how many? D flip flops are required 4. In the same way, T flip flops are required how many? Again T flip flops are required 4 in numbers. Okay. And inverters are required how many? Inverters are required 4 in numbers. I cannot write each every time 4 times, I cannot write a program for D flip flop. What I will do, I will create a module for D flip flop, and that module, this module copy, I will give it to all the things. Here, this particular module, what I am having, D flip flop module, I will send a copy of this, I will instantiate, so that copy is being created, and I will instantiate here, and I will instantiate here, and I will instantiate here, so that a copy goes to that particular thing. Okay. Now, a D flip flop is also a module and T flip flop is also a module, but D flip flop is an instance in T flip flop. Okay. Do not get confused. See, a D flip flop is a module, but in T flip flop module, for this T flip flop module, D flip flop, this particular D flip flop is an instance over here, but it is not what? It is not a module inside T flip flop. It is an instance, because what I will be doing, I will be instantiating this D flop inside my T flop, so that an instance of D flop is being created inside my T flip flop module. In the similar fashion, for all these ripple carry counter, what happens for this ripple carry counter, all the T flip flops what we are having, these T flops are what? These are instances. These are not modules inside ripple carry counter, but we have a separate module of T flip flop. but if I have called that particular module in some other program, then it becomes what? It becomes instance. So, this is the difference between a module and an instance. Okay. So, let me take another example. Let us try to understand this 4-bit full adder. So, let us try to understand 4-bit full adder. So, this you might have studied. So, how actually a 4-bit full adder works? A 4-bit full adder will be having what? If I take, so it will be having 4 different inputs, and I will be having 4 different 1-bit adder, right. So, this is going to be what? These are A, B, okay. So, this is going to be another 2 inputs. So, all these are what? All these are 1-bit full adder. Let me give it as 1-bit full adder. So, 1-bit full adder, 1-bit full adder, and I am having one more 1-bit full adder. Let me give this name as 0, 1, 2 and then 3. Okay, for this again we will be having, let me give it as A0, B0, this is going to be A1, B1, this is going to be A2, B2 and then A3 and then B3. So, here you will be having C in. So, for this I will be having S0, this carry naught will be given as an input to this. So, I will be having S1. So, again carry is being given as an input to this. So, I will be having S2, and then again I will be giving the carry input for this. So, this is going to be what? It is going to be S3, and then I will be having carry out. So, let me give this as C1, C2 and then C3. So, this is what a full adder looks like for 4-bit full adder. Now, if I want to write, so let me take this as a whole different, this thing as one module. Okay. So for a 4-bit full adder module, what actually we will be having? I will be having 4 different inputs, 4-bit input. Okay. So 4-bit inputs are what? It is going to be A and then B. And then I need one more input, that is going to be 1 bit. So, let me call it as 1-bit input. So, that is going to be C in, and then I need a 4-bit output. Okay, that is going to be what? It is going to be sum, and 1-bit output is required, that is going to be carry. So, for a 4-bit full adder, I need a module for what? For 1-bit full adder. Okay. Now, if you look at this, what I can have is that if I take a 4-bit full adder, I need 4 different what? 4 different FA0, FA1 and FA2 and FA3, same as the previous thing. So, but this module for what we have created, this module for 1-bit full adder, this once, because here what we are doing, here we are taking a copy of that, so that we can generate this 4-bit full adder. So, what this FA0, FA1, FA2, FA3, what these will become? These will become instances inside what? Inside my 4-bit full adder. But whereas that full adder module, what it is there, it is going to be a module, but if I take a copy of that thing, then it will become what? It will become an instance for that particular module. I hope everybody has understood. So, if you are having any doubts, my contact details are given in the description below. So, you can feel free to contact me. Okay. So, now let us try to look at one more topic, that is going to be components of simulation. So, what are the components required for simulation? this actually we have seen in terms of while writing the test benches. So, how actually the environment will be TB environment, as we had said, we need what? We need some registers to generate input. Okay. So, let me take a module, let me take a block. So, in this particular block, let me take same as let us try to evaluate half adder. Okay. For a half adder, inputs are how many? Inputs are 2 and they are going to be what? They are going to be A and B. And outputs are how many? Again outputs are 2, those are going to be sum and carry. Okay. So, here as we said, I need to generate input. In order to check the output, in order to verify your design, what is required? The required thing is what? I need to generate input and I need to check the output whether it is giving me a proper output or not. So, here we are having two inputs, that is A and B. Then A and B in the sense what? It is going to be 4 different combinations, that is going to be 0 0, 0 1, 1 0 and then 1 1. So, I need to drive these different combinations, that is 0 0, 0 1, 1 0 and then 1 1 to the design file what I have written. So, I cannot directly write it to the design file. Same what we can do, since we are not going to alter anything to the module what we have written in Verilog, which gives us privilege. So, what I will be doing, I will be taking a copy of this, or I will be taking an instance of this half adder, and then I will let me name this as HA1. Okay. So, this is not the main module, but it is going to be what? It is going to be a copy of this, or I can call it as instance of half adder, and the process of calling this is what? Instantiation. So, I have instantiated the half adder module inside my test bench environment. So, in this test bench environment, so this is the block. So, let me call this as A and this as B, and I have sum and we have carry, which are output. Okay. So, I need to drive the inputs over here. So, I will be having two different registers A and then one more register B. So, since I am generating inputs, I need registers in order to generate the inputs. So, I will be creating two different registers and I will name them as same A and B itself. And this register I am going to connect it to what? I am going to connect it to A and B. So, I need to check the output whether I am getting proper or not. So, I will create some wires. So, I will call this as wire sum, and I will call one more this thing as wire carry. And this wire sum and carry, I am going to connect this wire to what? It is going to be connected to sum, and this carry I am going to connect it to what? To this carry, so that I can observe the output. Always in a test bench environment, our outputs are wires and our inputs are registers. So, this whole block, okay, let me give it as different. This whole block what I am having, right, which consists of an stimulus block. I can call this as what? Since I am generating the inputs, I will call this as what? I can call this as stimulus, or stimulus block I can call. Okay. This whole environment what I am having, a stimulus block and a instantiated block, where in stimulus block I am driving the inputs and I am observing the outputs. This whole environment what I can say, this whole environment what we call it as test bench. This test bench, what we will be using it for? We will be using this test bench for what? We will be using this test bench for simulation. So, what are the components required for simulation? Now, if you look at this, components which are required for simulation are, one is the instances of the design file what we have written, and one more is the stimulus block. In stimulus block what we will be having, we need to generate the inputs. So we will be placing our inputs as what? We will be placing our inputs as registers, and we need to verify the output, right. So we will be making our outputs as wires in stimulus block, and these stimulus block input and then output will be connected to the instance what we have called in our test bench environment. So this whole part what we are having, these whole parts are what? These are the components of simulation. Okay. So this is all sufficient for in order to understand what is module and what are instances, and what are the different components which are required in order to test the design, or we can call it as components of simulation. So in the next class, this completes your module 1. So in the next class we shall start off with module 2, which are the basic Verilog constructs. So we shall start off with the basic things which are required for the programming of Verilog. So that we are going to see in the next session. Thank you.